Hello all, and welcome to a very special event crossover between Observer Report and my series Magi's Magical Memories. This will be cross-posted when it goes to Universe Sector 0057 Alpha to both playlists on the Overlapping Magisteria channel. What you are about to see today is my first solo Observer Report, complete memory report. What I see and hear, you see and hear. Those within the Type 5 Alliance will automatically know that this is standard procedure. And yes, you will hear my voice talking. Also, this memory report may be somewhat edited for reasons. We'll see how it goes, but depending on how things go, I'll talk about it during my analysis after the adventure has been had. Just to give you a little sneak preview of what we're doing, there is a science day happening at a certain university in Universe Sector 0057 Alpha, and I intend to go and record memories of what they are presenting to the public as science demos, scientific explanations of various things, and yeah, we'll just put my memories edited together afterwards and see what we get. I hope you guys enjoy!
So, with this demo here, this represents a particle accelerator. By throwing a water balloon at the target or a proton at the colliding particles, we can see the splash of the water or the splash of subatomic particles further and learn something more about the standard model. Practical example coming in 3, 2, 1. That was a very large particle scatter. Okay, so I am here at a mock-up of an excavation site for archaeology. Not only is the situation gridded out, but in addition, they also even have a card showing which way is north, so this way they know how things were buried. Now, my understanding of the explanation is, I will be using a shovel to attempt to uncover an artifact. Once I have done so, I will use a coarse brush to knock off the dust and a fine brush to elucidate the fine detail. From this, we can tell things about people who lived in history. Warning to anyone attempting to enter archaeology, unless it is bone or stone, do not touch with your bare hands. Use gloves only. May I have the shovel, please? There. And I'm going to try the lower quadrant, so with north being that way, this would be the northeast quadrant. Let's slowly work my way through here. Dig down a little bit. I do not wish to actually disrupt any artifacts that are buried here. Come on, there's got to be something in here, unless I picked the wrong quadrant. Well, then again, archaeology is not my... Whoa, hold on, I thought I found something. Let's try again. I am not finding anything in this quadrant. Oh well, sometimes archaeology can be a little bit of a dud. But hey, that's okay. That's the way the cookie crumbles sometimes. So here they are studying eelgrass through an electron microscope that they were given by Hitachi to bring into schools. But due to COVID, that wasn't possible. So now, with over 300 connections, people can now learn about studying things through an electron microscope and use it via Zoom. And after they've done this, they can technically put on their resume they used a scanning electron microscope. Looks kind of fascinating, all told. Even non-scanning electron microscopes have improved a lot, with the visual screens being a lot more impressive and resolution being grabbed of things like this sea urchin under this microscope here. Will technological wonders never cease? And this is a quantitative PCR machine. Unlike the old PCR method, which I took back when taking biochem, which only amplified a DNA signal, this machine can tell you how much of a DNA sample you have before sending it off to a lab to identify it. My, how technology has grown in this field. So under this microscope, we can see bits of a Daphnia or water flea. Pretty cool. Now, how about that? They even have a full microbiology kit here involving micropipetter and the micropipettes, agitator for larger samples, and centrifuge for spinning out the parts that you desire. God, this takes me back to the last time I took an immunology course years ago. At least they're teaching the kids of the next generation how to do biochem and microbi, with giving them a bright future tomorrow. Oh boy, this takes me back. A hydrophone, back when I was a kid sailing around the world, I used to listen to a hydrophone on the boat to identify different kinds of whale. My grandfather and I identified a right whale, several bottlenose dolphins and a couple of other kinds, and one humpback whale. This is a much more advanced version because at least now they have computers to be able to pick up the sound, and you no longer have to identify by ear. Once again, my how the times have changed. So I am here with an exhibit on sounding rockets, which are rockets that never leave the atmosphere. They work by the formula of specific impulse equals the force the rocket is exerting over the rate of change of mass times the gravitational constant, or rather Earth-specific gravity, or the planet you're launching off of. The two rockets here, including this one and this one, have both reached around 10,000 feet approximately. The group putting on this exhibit is trying to build a rocket which they aim to hit 30,000 feet. I'm glad to see the progression in rocketry work. Maybe someday we'll actually be able to get rockets that go interplanetary with human passenger loads. So with this exhibit, fish have a wide array of ways to produce sounds. They can use special muscles, rub bones together. Some even produce farts for other fish to hear. These fish hear sounds through special bones called otoliths, one of which is on display in this microscope. Fascinating, isn't it? They are even demonstrating seismometers here. If we move just a little bit of my gaze up and pay a little bit better attention. Let's see, does it record? Oh, there's a spike. Let's see if we can replicate. And that is how you measure for earthquakes. So they have an exhibit here on how seismic waves affect different buildings of different size. If I just reach over to here and give it a quick shake, how about that? The taller building seems to be more stable than the shorter one. So, you can tell from the place on the left that the housing structure survived, whereas the one on the jello, shaken by an earthquake, fell. Harder the ground means less destructive shaking in earthquakes. So in other words, if you're building a house, build your foundation on hard ground. As for how earthquakes produce quicksand, any sand with a high enough water concentration, when hit by seismic waves, the water will come out of the pores and thus make the sand more easy to sink into. And for today's last science demo, I thought I would add in my own piece. This will be a demonstration, which could be a magic trick, or could be dimensional manipulation. Either way, it takes advantage of a blind spot in your viewer's brains. You be the judge. So I take this ball here, then I quickly conceal it in my hands, and with a little bit of a breath, lo and behold, it turns into 2, as you can see right there. Now I'm going to take one over here, keep the other one over here, and gone. Look, 2. And when I put them back into this hand, 1, 2, lo and behold, they turn into a cube. But then I just quickly scrunch it all back together, 1 second, a little wave and a snap, and lo and behold, it's back to a singular ball. That's that, for this part at least.
Well, that was an interesting adventure at that university in Universe Sector 0057 Alpha. I do have some thoughts about a few things. Number 1, I had to heavily edit the memory report before it goes back to 57 Alpha for reasons of a lot of people I was talking to that were there presenting the exhibits did not want to be recorded by any stretch of the imagination. The weird part of it was I was speaking out loud, so this way I could make sure that you guys heard me clearly on the memory report. People asked me why I was looking at exhibits and talking to myself. I told them I had one of those neural implants by their billionaire Elon Musk, which could allow my brain to record memories and transmit them over the internet later. People bought it, so I was able to continue my investigations. Three memory reports that were of interest that I didn't include in here, but for reasons of security. One, I was able to affect the dice that was splitting movement of pennies in a normal distribution. 1, 2, 3 made you go left, 4, 5, 6 made you go right. Out of, I think it was 8 or 9 rolls, I only had a single 1. All the others were 4, 5, or 6, meaning when converted to binary, so 0 versus 1, I got a statistically significant effect skewing the data on that die with a single penny with children and the presenter watching around just to prove I could do it. I called it a magic trick mechanism, so I didn't break Article 7. If you're watching this in 0057 Alpha, however, I may have played my hand a little too early, but that's okay, no big deal. The next one was also a private conversation between myself, another alternate/colleague, and codename Flux, all measured as EEG data as we communicated directly by thought through hyperspheres. That data has been classified for a future project, which may get revealed later down the line. There were a couple that I completely ignored, simply because of the fact that I didn't want to bother with people. Oh, and yes, there is one memory in there of my not being able to properly see what they called a daphnia or a water flea under a microscope. That is because my glasses bumped up against the viewfinder parts of the microscope, and I wouldn't have been able to use the viewfinder parts on my own anyway, as my prescription is so bad with my glasses that if I took them off, I would be as blind as a proverbial bat. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed this memory report. I will be doing a greater number of these in future, as Pseudonymous has decided that they are taking a bit of a hiatus for a little while after the whole BS-ery with the Consensus Assembly. They want to take some time off with family for a little while, which means I get to have some time in the field, and I even get to introduce a little math and science along the way. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed this memory report, and I won't do the closeout that Pseudo normally does. Instead, I will just say, keep up your curiosity, and bye for now.